queer people grow up with no LGBT representation with whom we can feel identified with. The Moonflower is a podcast devoted to all of those sapphic stories that give us representation in literature, cinema, and TV. Are you ready to undertake this sapphic trek with your host, Esther Jiménez? Let's go, lesbians!
Good morning, good evening, good night! How is everything going? I'm sure that great. It's almost Christmas time, and that means it's almost Carol season. But I didn't come here just to talk to you about Carol, but about a movie that I've been wanting to recommend you for a long time. This is Summerland. Before I immerse myself on the movie, I have to admit that this is not the best sapphic movie in the world, but it has many nice things, and I think it might be worth it giving a try to it. So, let's get into it. Summerland was released in 2020, hard and pandemic times. It is directed by Jessica Swell, and I have to say that I heard about this movie because I really like the actor Gemma Arterton. Arterton plays the protagonist Alice. You might have heard this name if you are fans of Virginia Woolf and have watched Beta and Virginia. Talking about the cast, Gugu Mbatha-Raw plays Alice's ex-girlfriend Vera, Lucas Bond plays Frank, and Dixie Egerick plays Eddie, Frank's best friend. Even if Lucas and Dixie are children, they act, in my opinion, with so much organicity. They are even better than the adult actors, to be honest. Focusing on the plot, we are in Kent, England, during the 40s, and well, I don't know if you remember well, but there was a wee war during this time. This was the Second World War. The action takes us to Alice, a reclusive English writer who is resigned to a solitary life in the southeast of England. This lady does not really follow the norm. An academic writer during the 20th century and living alone. Disappointingly, she's cold within a witch in the village that she lives in. Such a common trope for women to be called witches when they read and write. During that time, lots of children were evacuated from cities and sent to villages with some families that would take care of them. Alice is somehow forced to adopt Frank. Frank is an evacuated child from London. Obviously, as our Alice is a people hater, she resists adopting him. However, time passes and they begin to connect to the point that Alice opens herself and her inner world to him. I have to say that they have more in common than they know. This is a plot twist that you will see by the end of the movie and that I will not spoil to you, I promise. So the thing is that it is Frank's innocence, curiosity, kindness, and ability to listen what unlocks Alice's coldness, and we end up seeing a dreamer, kind, and a curious woman who is able to love. All of this is linked with some flashbacks from Alice's past that torture her mind and that narrate her love story with Vera Wellborn, which is what we are here to listen to. But before getting into this love story, I wanted to talk about Alice as a feminist, an empowered woman who is rejected by society just for having a critical mind and for being an independent woman. Alice is not a creative writer, but actually an academic writer. Yes, she works for academia as a scholar. I wish I was her, to be honest. This means that she writes academic theses and all of that stuff. And those academic theses she analyzes folklore with a feminist view. She writes about witches stories and myths in which women have a tragic destiny. Specifically, there is a myth that is mentioned in this movie, which is the one about Fata Morgana. This woman was a wizard within the Arthurian legend who attracted sailors and killed them. Alice's thesis is that these women who get out from the norm are always destined or fated to be blamed for witchery, madness, and murder. And if you start analyzing these types of narratives, such as the Medea one, this discourse of the mad woman is in a huge amount of literary texts. It's crazy. In fact, villagers refer to Alice with names such as the witch, the mad woman, the Nazi, and so on. The fact that a woman could live alone without getting married and that she was a scholar is something to be called a Nazi, of course. Obviously, as she is misunderstood and an outcast and has such a big trauma from the past, her mechanism of defense is, I am an antisocial and cold person and I hate people. And we can see this from the beginning by the type of colors that she wears, which is aquamarine mixed with a little bit of orange and red. Maybe this is a sign that she wants to be seen as cold, but it's all a performance. Poor woman, like. She's just a character, but I think that she represents a great amount of women from that time. Focusing now on her story with Vera, as said before, we witnessed this story through some flashbacks. Vera is also a writer and she studied modern languages, so perfect match. I find it very funny their first encounter because we can see how Alice gay panics when Vera comes close to her. I won't be the one to judge her. The thing is that thanks to her relationship with Vera, Alice is able to deal with the loss of her father and to unlock herself. It's very beautiful when people help you grow up, right? The thing is that even if they were so happy, this story ends when Vera manifests Alice her willingness to have children. Because Alice doesn't want any kids, Vera breaks up with her priorities, I guess. Even though creating a family with lesbians during the 20th century was going to be a little bit hard, but fair enough. About Alice and Frank's relationship, I love that Frank believes in her and tries to listen to her from the beginning. In other words, he doesn't see Alice as a crazy witch that should be isolated from society, but as an interesting person. He listens to her and manages to communicate with her. This allows Alice to open up to him to the point that in a very beautiful scene, Alice tells Frank about her ex-girlfriend. She actually asks him if it would be weird if a woman loved another woman. He, being innocent, kindly, and a lesbian supporter, answers, no, of course not. Frank, we lesbians love you. Following this idea, the name of this film, Summerland, is connected to Alice's inner world in the sense that she believes in a kind of floating islands that you can only see in very few occasions, and that is like a pagan paradise. In other words, Alice doesn't believe in Christian paradise, but in Summerland. A magic concept that I would even believe in, to be honest. Therefore, even if she doesn't show it to the world, Alice has hope. And of course, our Frank believes in her to the point that he witnesses the Summerland even before she does. On the other hand, I feel like planes and the concept of flying are a very important symbol in this movie. Frank loves airplanes, since his father is a pilot. There is a lovely scene in which Frank manages to build a wooden airplane, but it crashes. He has a hard time, to be honest. Alice teaches him something very important, and I think that this is the message of this film. She explains to him that the fact that the plane crashes is something normal. The important thing is how you deal with it. Applying this to life, I think that what she means is that we might have awful moments in life, but it is really important to learn how to deal with those problems. We should fly, lose control of ourselves, and try things. Sometimes it is worthy, even if our plane could break. In this way, planes are a symbol for life, for risk, for flying losing control up and down. If your plane crashes, you build another one, and you keep going. Virginia Woolf already said it. You cannot find peace by avoiding life. Yes, I love Virginia Woolf. Well, at the end of the story, there is a very big plot twist that I actually anticipated and that I am not going to spoil you, but you will see it, I promise. I have to admit that this movie sometimes feels a little bit unbelievable and that it didn't really have a good review. It has even been defined as a historical melodrama. However, we sometimes need these kind of films, don't we? The comfort films, the easy-to-watch films. I feel like it's worthy to give it a try because we witness a very cute story about two women during the 20th century, and we witness a little man who doesn't follow the toxic masculinity thing. Frank though being a kid, is a good role model for men, and we lesbians love Frank. Also, this is a perfect movie to watch on a Sunday evening with your cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is that you like having. Well, I think I spoke quite a lot today, so I hope that you watch the movie and that you tell me what you think of it and that everything goes well, of course. And yeah, see you soon. Enjoy your Christmas.